No, this is great. One of the things I've been talking a lot about lately is what are layer twos. And so I've been doing analogies between like Lightning and Liquid because they're both what I would call layer twos, right? A layer two
Mhm.
just means you can transact with Bitcoin, but you don't have to talk to a miner to get your transaction in a block. You can,
Mhm.
there's some other way or of doing or transacting with Bitcoin. Usually you need a new accounting system. So in like Lightning, we use these signed contracts as the
Mhm.
accounting system. And whatever the most recent signed contract says, that's your balance. So that's the new accounting way, if that makes sense. Liquid is
Yeah.
different in that the way that they do accounting is they created a whole new blockchain. So when you have a balance on Liquid and you want to transact on Liquid, it's a lot like transacting on Bitcoin, the layer one Bitcoin. The
Mhm.
difference is that the people who make the blocks are like a federation. There's like 15 members in this federation. They're spread all out throughout the world, um, in a bunch of different jurisdictions and stuff. So it's very hard for someone to coordinate them because they're like so far apart in different parts of the world. Anyways, um, and they're like a network where they create a block, I think, every minute. So I think it takes 2 blocks for a transaction to be final. So
Mhm.
you would write, so if you have Bitcoin on Liquid, you would write a transaction. Another cool thing about having a new blockchain is that Blockstream has some of the world's best cryptographers working at it. So when they built Liquid, which they did this half a decade ago, which I think is so impressive, they built into it some really then state of the art ways of hiding what you're transacting with and the amounts you're transacting with. We call those confidential transactions. So
Mhm.
you can make transactions in a blockchain in the blocks, but you can use cryptography to hide what you're transacting and how much, such that you can you can reveal to your friends. You can have like these special keys. So special keys are kind of like sort of like glasses, like rose colored glasses. So if you have the special key, when you look at the blockchain, you can see what the amounts are and how it moved. But most people don't have that special key. They don't have those special glasses. So when they see the blockchain, it just looks like a bunch of data and they don't know who's transacting and how much. So um, having a new blockchain gives us the opportunity to add new features to transactions like this confidential transaction stuff. Another cool thing that Liquid has that the main chain doesn't have is like new assets. So you can issue new assets on Liquid.
Mhm.
Um, which I think a big project, one that I found out recently is there's a effort to take promissory note contracts in like Mexico and make it such that you can issue those on Liquid and trade them and have a digital record of them on the Liquid blockchain. Um,
Mhm.
and then be able to like I guess trade them. I didn't really understand the whole thing, but there's a really cool podcast that we just put out or that Blackstream just put out about this whole big project to take this $1 million, multi-million dollar industry of promissory notes, and be able to have digital records of them instead of paper records so you can have them on the blockchain, which is cool. And I think those also have, I don't know if they're using confidential transactions for those, but you would be able to transact confidentially with those on Liquid, in like a decentralized way, which is really cool. So if you owned a promissory note, you wanted to sell it to someone or prove that you had it, you could give them the special glasses so they could see it, and then you could sell it to them, and then they could, I don't know, I don't really understand what you use promissory notes for, so like kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know what that works. But yeah, so Liquid is like another layer too, so you can put your Bitcoin into Liquid and then transact with it faster than, so like on the normal Bitcoin network, new transactions get processed on average every 10 minutes. On Liquid, they get processed on average every 2 minutes. So you can cut the time by like 5x speed up, but it's not as fast as Lightning, right? Because you're still waiting for new blocks to get made. Whereas on Lightning, we only had to wait for new signatures to get made, right? And that's super
Mhm.
fast.
Mhm.
So Lightning's called Lightning because it's lightning fast. Liquid's called Liquid because I don't know, liquidity, liquidity
It could be.
around.
Yeah, yeah, it could be.
Um,
Yeah, actually, I was asking you that this because well, I'm not sure, uh, but the thing that are implementing in El Salvador that Egypt wants to do, the volcano bonds, I've heard some
yeah,
months ago that they're going to implement it with liquidity network. So, but I'm not sure if they're going to implement that with that. But it's good to know how it could work, you know.
Yeah, so the cool thing about doing it on Liquid is that you can then basically you have like a on-chain asset that you can trade easily, right? Or like you can have it in your digital wallet and see it. So I think there's like, like right now when you own a stock or like an equity in a company, right? Where does that record live? Who has it? Why do they have it? Like if I own, let's say I own like $10 of Amazon stock or whatever, right? Um, I don't know where that like stock certificate, like where is it written down that I own $10 worth of Amazon stock? I don't know. I kind of have to
Mhm.
trust the company that says that I own $10 worth of Amazon stock to like remember that that's me that owns it. And if something ever happens to the company that I'm holding the stock at, like how do I sell it to someone else if that company
Mhm.
goes away? Like where is the record of me owning that stock? Like where does that exist? I think this is like a big problem in like the asset industry in total. Like it's not digitized. I mean, they have digital records, but they're like in centralized databases, and there
Mhm.
is still some trust that like whoever's holding that record will be around, or like you'll be able to at some point go figure out that I was the one that was holding it. By moving those records onto something like Liquid, and Liquid, I think it's been really working really hard to be a good platform to issue those sorts of assets on. I, as the like stockholder or the volcano bond holder, get like in a wallet a private, like I have a private key that says that I'm the one that holds it, right? And I have the right, I then at any time can sell it to someone else on like an exchange, but I have to make a signature with my key to show that I've moved it over to the next person in a transaction, right? So having assets in a blockchain like that is really great for a couple of reasons. One, you get like a nice trail of who's owned what. And if you use the confidential transaction stuff for it, you can have that trail. So you have an audit trail, but you make it such that only the people with the like right rose colored glasses can see it. Otherwise, no one else knows kind of who owns what, which is really a nice feature, I think, because you get the best of the auditability. If someone wanted to
Mhm.
like a big
Mhm.
organization, they want to audit who has it, you can give them the glasses so they can see it. But for private holders, then you can, for the general, no one like outside of your small circle of people, no one knows that you own $10 of Amazon stock, right? Is the whole idea. So I think Liquid, I think, struck a really nice balance between these two things. Like, how do we make it such that things are auditable? And the nice thing about auditability is, like if you're able to audit like the supply, you know that they haven't just created a whole bunch of extra stuff. Um, so it lets you kind of, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. And the cool thing to me is like Blackstream made all of this happen 5 years ago before any other side chains happened. So it's been out for a long time. It hasn't been super used. I think people give it a lot of, I think people really look down on Liquid because it doesn't have a lot of use. But I'm like, I don't know, I'm very much a technologist. I'm like, yes, but they shipped a very technically interesting project. The fact that no one's using it, I feel like is a separate problem. More people
Mhm.
are using it now. So like the volcano bonds, it sounds like they're working on getting those issued on Liquid. Um, Blockstream issued like a mining note a few years ago, so you could buy a part of an issued asset that in 3 years, I guess it's like next year at this point, you get paid out in Bitcoin based on how much hash rate you own for that contract kind of thing.
Mhm.